are ready. Good evening, everyone. We are ready to begin. Thank you. My brother is here, so I was hoping he might come down here and lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance at the podium. That would be you, Jim. Yes. Thank you. Right there. And those are the words.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United
States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. My pleasure. City Clerk.
Councilmember Duran.
Here.
Councilmember Heilman.
Here.
Councilmember Meister.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Horvath.
Here.
Mayor D'Amico.
Yes.
We have a quorum.
Thank you very much. Can we have a report of the closed session agenda?
Thank you, Mayor. This evening's meeting was called to order at 5:30 for a special meeting for the purpose of conducting a closed session. One item was added to the closed session agenda that's in the agenda packet, and that was the pending litigation, City of West Hollywood versus BPREP 8500 Sunset. There were no public comments on the closed session agenda and no reportable actions taken in closed session this evening. Thank you, Mayor.
The approval of the agenda. Are there any changes from the City Clerk's office?
Yes, staff is requesting that item 2P, which is the amendment to the agreement for services with landscape architecture design services with Moore Iocofano Goldsmith, Inc., be tabled to a future meeting.
Okay.
And then there was a minor revision to item 2B, which is the minutes from the last meeting. A correction would be made to include Cliff Wadama in the adjournment motions. And with that change, we're requesting approval.
All right. Thank you very much. Are there any changes from my colleagues? John.
Mayor, I'm wondering if we can move items 5A, 5B, and 5C onto the consent calendar. Those are all the assessments for Melrose, Sunset Boulevard, and Santa Monica Boulevard.
Any objections?
I have questions on 5A and 5B.
Okay, so we won't move that. We'll move 5C.
No, I'm fine
Okay,
with moving
good.
that.
What about item 5E? That's the Applegate Employment Services contract. Apple One, sorry.
I'm fine with that.
5E to consent.
All right.
And what about item 5G? That's the a revised city council meeting schedule as proposed by the city clerk.
I'm good with that.
I'm good with that. Okay. 5D, 5E, 5G,
C.
C. 5C. I'll let the
E-
city clerk
C, E,
do
and
the
G.
job of the city clerk. Thank you. All right, any other items to move?
I had a question for Yvonne on item 2X. Does that not have to be a public hearing? This is the street maintenance assessment for the upcoming year.
I would have to confer with staff. I don't think that it comes as a public hearing each year. Beth or Dimitri in the audience, item 2X.
We'll check and we'll get the answer before you adopt the.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right.
I have a quick question on 2E. I'm happy to ask it during my council member comments and then pull the item if needed for further discussion. If that works for everyone.
Yep.
Okay. All right. Is there a motion?
Motion to approve the agenda as amended.
All right, as amended. Terrific. Are there any adjournment motions?
Yes. I have one, Mayor. Two of our longtime city employees, Beth Smith and Bonnie Smith, lost their mother recently. Brenda Lee Smith was the mother of both Beth and Bonnie. She passed away unexpectedly May 4th. She was somebody who enjoyed reading, baking, going to her local senior center, and I know that she will be greatly missed, and both Beth and Bonnie appreciate all of the support and condolences that they've received. So without objection, I'd request we adjourn in her memory.
Of course.
As is our tradition in the city to adjourn our council meetings in honor of the military service personnel who were killed in service to our country. They are Specialist Miguel L. Holmes, age 22. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Any from this side?
I have one, Mayor. I'd like to ask that we adjourn in memory of Sammy Shore, one of the co-founders of the Comedy Store on the Sunset Strip, father to Polly Shore, both comedians.
Thank you very much. Without objection. All right, now we get to the part of the meeting where the Mayor Pro Tem and I get sworn in. So, City Clerk?
Raise your right hand and repeat after me. I, John D'Amico,
I, John D'Amico,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that while serving in the office of mayor
that while serving in the office of Mayor
of the city of West Hollywood,
of the City of West Hollywood,
I will support and defend
I will support and defend
the Constitution of the United
the
States
Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of California.
and the Constitution of the State of California.
I will bear true faith and allegiance
I will bear true faith and allegiance
to the Constitution of the United
to the
States
Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of
and the
California.
Constitution of the State of California.
I take this obligation freely
I take this obligation freely,
without any mental reservation
without any mental reservation
or purpose of
or
evasion,
purpose of evasion,
and I will well and faithfully discharge
and I will well and faithfully discharge
the duties upon which I am about to enter.
the duties upon which I am about to enter.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much, Yvonne.
Please raise your right hand. I, Lindsey P. Horvath,
I, Lindsey P. Horvath,
do solemnly swear that,
do solemnly swear that,
while serving in the office of Mayor Pro Tem
while serving in the office of Mayor Pro Tem
of the City of West Hollywood,
of the City of West Hollywood,
I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States
I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of California.
and the Constitution of the State of California.
I will bear true faith and allegiance to the Constitution of the United States
I will bear true faith and allegiance to the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of California.
and the Constitution of the State of California.
I take this obligation freely
I take this obligation freely
without any mental reservation or purpose of evasion,
without any mental reservation or purpose of evasion,
and I will well and faithfully discharge the duties which I am about to enter.
and I will well and faithfully discharge the duties upon which I'm about to enter.
Congratulations, Lindsey.
Congratulations.
I believe there are representatives from Richard Bloom's office and Ben Allen's office. Is that correct? And from Adam Schiff's office as well.
Just wanted to congratulate you all on, from our
Go, you may speak at the microphone.
No,
Yes.
at the-
No, well, that one or the other one.
At the podium.
Senator Allen's office. Wanted to congratulate them on their new positions, and we look forward to have you serving our state and our city. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, Mike.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and Madam Mayor Pro Tem. On behalf of Congressman Adam Schiff, representing West Hollywood in the 28th District of California, I congratulate you on these new positions, and we look forward to working with you as we have in the past for a bright future. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Congratulations. I want to thank the people of West Hollywood for electing me and entrusting me with this awesome responsibility and honor to serve our incredible community. I'm deeply, deeply grateful for this opportunity and will continue working hard every day to earn it. I want to thank my family who's present here today, and in a special way, I want to thank my brother who makes me so proud, who makes me laugh. I'm really glad you didn't just up here, and who lets me know just how lucky I am to have a brother like him, and he's right. As many of you may know, my brother suffered some pretty terrible injuries in a car accident back in 2015. It was a really hard time, and many of you supported me and him and our family through that time, and I want to thank you. And as you can see, he's doing just fine, and we're very proud of him. He's been very successful in his career, and I'm a very proud big sister, although he thinks he's the older brother. I also want to thank our staff, our appointed officials, and especially my colleagues for the work they do every day. Like family, we may not always agree, and that's important. Our community counts on us to have a diversity of opinions and to serve the many diverse needs of our city. No one of us could do that alone. And I look forward to continuing our work together as a city council. Most importantly tonight, I want to congratulate Mayor John D'Amico on his much-deserved position of leadership. Not only was he the person to earn the endorsement of all of his colleagues in this most recent election, but he has certainly grown in his leadership and service and his vision for the city. This week, he will travel to Germany to represent us on an international stage because of the work that he does day in and day out, every day right here in West Hollywood, to inform our city's policies on climate, energy, and sustainability. Absent national leadership on these issues, his role is even more important and something we can all be proud of. So thank you for representing us, Mayor. I've come to know John more and better over the last term of service together, and I'm impressed by his dedication. He is relentless. But the gift that keeps on giving for me is his honest friendship. He's willing to say what others won't, to help shine light on blind spots, and to support me in my own growth and for the betterment of our community. And I think the same can be said for each and every person who has the opportunity to work with him. I can't ask for more than that. Neither can our residents. We're very lucky to have you. So I look forward to the year ahead as Mayor Pro Tem, or as I would like to say, teammate in chief, to the mayor, to our council, and most importantly, to our community. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Lindsey. That was really super nice. I mean, it's not that I wasn't expecting that to be super nice.
Sometimes I am.
Expecting it to be about me. The part that was, and I'm glad your brother is well, and my brother too is back there, which is really super remarkable. My family is really amazing. And so listen, I want to thank you all for coming tonight. For me, this regular installation event is something that I think we can all celebrate and do. It's time, once again, to turn the crystal and look in, illuminate our commitment to the residents, highlight a new view into the city, resend our strongest messages about what's best about our West Hollywood. Not just to the folks on Doheny and Detroit and Dorrington and Dix Street, but to downtown Los Angeles, to Sacramento, and even to Washington, D.C. I want to send a big thank you to the staff, of course, to my colleagues, and of course, Keith Rand. I believe it was former Councilmember Guariello who famously said about Rita Guariello, his wife, when he proposed putting her on the Planning Commission, and there was some criticism from the community. He said, Rita and I share a bed, not a mind. But I have to say that I wish Keith and I did share a mind, because he is so smart and so caring and so amazing. And even after 24 years of sharing a bed, I'm still learning from him and very much in love. So if you're willing, can you please give Keith Rand a big round of applause? So if I get this right, this speech, I'll be able to communicate two themes this evening. First, I'm here to do the city's work. And second, for the next 12 months, everyone gets to be the mayor. First and foremost, I'm here to do the city's work. I'm honored to be doing it. I think it's important, it's valuable, it's critical to set the bar as high as we can and keep it there. We all know that cities are never finished, and ours is no exception. We will continue to expand and contract the way all cities do. You know, a little more of this, less of that, some of the other. Here are some examples and trends that have emerged in just the past few years. There are more kids living in West Hollywood now than at any time since the 1970s. And there are half as many Russian-speaking people since the 1990s. And there are the exact same number of seniors. There are more LGBT people in WeHo than ever before, and more young women too. There's more traffic and more available parking. There is less market rate housing that's affordable and more home ownership. There are fewer people with AIDS and more people with food insecurities. There are more people visiting our libraries and fewer people reading books. There are more reasons to be weary of big government in Sacramento and small government in Washington and the overwhelmed LA County government downtown. In the decades since cityhood in 1984, thank you, John Heilman, West Hollywood has not grown in size, nor substantially in population, but it has grown in reasons to exist and ways that make plain just exactly what our usefulness is. Not just to the people that live within these 1.9 square miles, but to the region and the world. We do a lot of things really well here. We pay attention to the residents. We write smart legislation. We take wise positions on state and federal legislation. We pursue the new and the exciting while making sure that no one is left behind. And I still believe it is cultural invention that we do best. Our legacy as a city, I think, is best recorded in the ways in which citizens have been leaders and invented and narrated the story about people in Los Angeles, people in California, people across America, and most importantly, people here in West Hollywood. I think people sometimes forget how uniquely influential West Hollywood can be. From inventing the culture that other places consume to the power that comes from being empowered by your government. Now more than ever, with the leadership vacuum at the national level, West Hollywood leads by showing other communities what they can do to step up and help guide us all through this troubling time. Being from West Hollywood means you're a citizen of the world with an eye on your neighborhood. We are a city full of regular people, living regular lives, helping each other and the city to do extraordinary things. And so tonight, and for the next 12 months, I'm sharing my time as mayor with you. I'd like to recognize and celebrate and challenge all of us to occupy our leadership role and our role as the mayor of West Hollywood. There is a t-shirt on each one of your chairs, and it says, Mayor of West Hollywood. So take it and wear it. I'm asking you to be the mayor with me. Render yourself and West Hollywood visible. And when someone asks, are you really the mayor? You can tell them that you know West Hollywood, and you're helping to invent it, and you're responsible for keeping it moving in the right direction. I mean, isn't that what the mayor is supposed to do? That's what this mayor does. And every day living presents endless opportunities for all of us to lead. Speak up against injustice, congratulate success, join your neighborhood watch group, start a neighborhood watch group, recycle a piece of trash that someone else left behind, visit a new business, show you care when a neighbor needs some help, take a position on behalf of our community, and take a stand when others won't. Be the leader when a leader is needed. And as issues come up, we must think and act collectively to do good for as many people as possible. What we may find uncomfortable or inconvenient is offset by being a leader and making sacrifices for the benefit of the community around us. I know you're up for the challenge. I see it every day. Our city leads while other cities and states are flailing, inexplicably falling backwards. In our city, our citizens jump up and start acting often before anyone else has even entered the arena. There's a whole world out there that needs us to help show them the way. We all know that together we can help bring more of West Hollywood to life. And what does that mean? That means more living on our terms. It's a long list, the work that needs doing, and each of us needs to prioritize for ourselves what's important and then take action. I have some priorities for myself for this year. I think you've seen some of them roll out, and there are a few more to follow. First, I'm interested in what the correct level of social services funding should be to be sure that we're keeping people in their homes and healthy and eating and safe. We need to help people age in place and pay their rent. We need to continue to reduce HIV infections and develop smart strategies for healthy living right here in our city. And we do not want to add even one more person to the county's homeless population. We need to right-size the social services budget, and I look forward to leading on that front and ask your help in making that happen. 2, we need to strategize about how our building and safety policies around seismic retrofit and sustainable building can be maximized to increase and maintain the supply of safe, resilient, rent-controlled housing. It's clear that new housing construction is not the short or even the medium-term solution to the housing affordability crisis. So keeping our existing housing stock viable and safe and healthy needs to be a much bigger priority, and I'm committed to making that happen too. 3, I want to work with my colleagues and the sheriffs and the social service agencies and all of you on understanding and stopping drug overdoses in our community. Working to create programs and policies that promote wellness and safety in the face of this gathering storm. Too many people are caught in a cycle of addiction and destruction, and as a community, we need to lean into solutions that reduce harm and increase the sense of belonging. And finally, you may have noticed that tonight's event is a little muted. There's no party, there's no big celebration, there's a little cake in the back, and that is on purpose. I'm asking my colleagues to allow that the savings from tonight's event be put into programs that help young people thrive. Investing in the health and wellness of young people, especially young Black and Latino men, reaffirms that their lives are important, that their contributions matter more than ever, and that their quality of life is something to be prioritized by all of us. So those are my priorities. Those are my priorities. I hope you will join me in bringing them to life. And I also hope you will include me in your priorities so that we can work together to bring yours to life too. So, fellow citizen mayors, we're off. There's a lot to do, and there are a lot of us. There's more than 150 of us in this room. There are almost as many citizen mayors in this room as there are Democratic candidates for president. Look, we're all up to the task. We might make some mistakes along the way, but as you have all shown me, focusing on what makes the world a better place is what mayors can do. So thank you very much. So, by a show of hands, how many of you are here for this, and how many of you are here for the items later on in the agenda? And how many of you are here for this? So what I thought we would do is have a little 15-minute break and go out and celebrate, and then we come back in and do the city's work. Because otherwise, you have to sit here for an hour and listen to us do the city's business, which is interesting business, but I think you're here for another reason. So it's 6:35. Why don't we get back together at 10 to 7? Thank you. All right, we get back to business. We will now have public comment. Public comment in the city of West Hollywood is very important. The council values your comments. However, pursuant to the Brown Act, the council cannot take action on items not listed on the posted agenda. The public comment period is limited to 20 minutes, with 2 minutes allotted for each speaker. This public comment period is to address the city council on consent calendar items and other agenda items if the member of the public cannot be present at the time the item is considered. Our first speaker is Zoe Atlas, to be followed by Esther Baum.
My name is Zoe Atlas. I am a soon-to-graduate high school senior, and for the last year, I have been a volunteer intern for the City Council. I would just like to take a moment to thank the West Hollywood City Council for providing the opportunity for young people to learn by experience while taking on responsibilities and tasks many of my peers could not fathom doing at 18 years old. Working alongside such a tight bunch of dedicated, open-minded, and diverse individuals has allowed me to further advance my skills and knowledge, as well as confirming my goals and plans for my future career. It's been a pleasure and honor to be a working part of the goals and initiatives present in the city of West Hollywood. It has been humbling and uplifting to incorporate and develop my passion for writing into drafting letters, staff reports, resolutions, and many other projects pertaining to my work for the city. Seeing the behind-the-scenes working of a city government has fostered such an appreciation for all the not-considered aspects of daily life I used to take for granted. This has truly been an eye-opening experience I am grateful to have had at such a young age that I will look back on and cherish as I start in the fall as an undergraduate English major and then law school. I want to especially thank Andy and the City Hall staff for being so welcoming, friendly, and for making every day in City Hall graced with kind greetings, laughter, and always food for everyone to share. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Zoe, for your service. Esther Baum, to be followed by Dan Marin.
Esther Baum, a resident of the city of West Hollywood, 30 years. I want to thank you for 2Z legal aid assistance for people being evicted, particularly for seniors. And I think if we would limit the cost of living increase to 2% for seniors, we would have less need for it. I noticed that the Times says that New York and San Francisco already have, and that LA is considering legal assistance for people being evicted. I would also like to put forward having dial-a-ride on Saturday and Sunday. I've heard from so many seniors that they really, and handicapped, that they really need it on the weekend. There are lots of events going on at the parks, etc., and they can't attend them because they have no transportation. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Esther. Dan Marin, to be followed by Rob Bergstein.
Dan Morin, City of West Hollywood. Item 2D, consent. Commencement and expiration date of the terms for city commissioners. I endorse this ordinance. However, we have term limits for city council, and we should also have term limits for commission and advisory board members. Perhaps a total of 8 years and no more. Some people have been on these commissions and boards for far too long. New perspectives are needed. Item 2E, transportation services. Just FYI, Ambience Transportation primarily uses Lyft, and using this service, especially last month for my birthday, and by the way, thank you for the shout out on my 75th. It's a little daunting knowing that I'm now closer to 80 than 70. But anyway, there was only one occasion when an actual Ambience vehicle took me to my destination. The longest I had to wait was an hour when Lyft drivers had to be changed 4 times. Otherwise, it's a great service. Item 2I, affordable housing requirement. I most enthusiastically endorse this item. I'm 100% in favor of modifying the zoning code to have more affordable housing. Item 2R, amendment to lease agreement with Coons Hardware. I don't understand why the city is extending the lease agreement for a total of almost $2 million for a little over 7,000 square feet of space in the Coons building. It is my understanding that the city owns the former Aaron Brothers site just somewhat across from City Hall. Why does not the city utilize this quite convenient space as opposed to spending almost $2 million on a site which is about a mile distance from City Hall? I don't understand. Item 2Z, legal representation for tenants. I absolutely endorse this item. However, we have a Democratic governor and a supermajority in our state capital. Isn't this the perfect time to repeal the dreaded Ellis Act and Costa-Hawkins? If we can't accomplish this now, then when? As long as Ellis and Costa-Hawkins exist, tenants are at the mercy of their landlords, and there is no such thing as aging in place. I beg this council and our lobbyists to act now on convincing our representatives in Sacramento to repeal Ellis and Costa-Hawkins to ensure that people can indeed age in place. Thank you.
Thank you, Dan. Rob Bergstein to be followed by John Erickson.
Good evening, Honorable Mayor, council members. My name is Rob Bergstein. I'm a resident of the city of West Hollywood, and I wanted to talk briefly about consent item 2Z, legal right for counsel for tenants. While I do believe that any tenant that is facing any form of harassment or eviction process would be best served if they had legal counsel, and I want to thank Councilmember Duran for bringing this forward, there is a flip side to this equation. The vast majority of the owners of residential rental property in West Hollywood are mom and pop, mom and mom, pop and pop, and their rentals are their largest investment and the source of most of their income. I'm fortunate that in my 19 years of being a landlord, I've only had to evict one tenancy, and that was because they stopped paying the rent, they did not contest the eviction, and went rather quickly and smoothly. Just as there are both great landlords and those that are less than ethical, there are also great tenants, and there are also some who know how to work the system, so to speak, when it comes to the eviction process and employ less than ethical attorneys to draw out the process, and a few months of lost rent can be financially catastrophic to small building owners. I would ask that if you move this forward, you have staff do research on the possibility of providing legal assistance to landlords who may be facing such unethical treatment by a tenant whom the landlord has a clear and justifiable reason for a just cause eviction and who could verify with staff they are unable to afford legal counsel on their own. I would also ask that staff present their report to both the Rent Stabilization Commission and Human Services Commissions for comments prior to the report being presented to council. And just briefly, I wanted to congratulate Mayor D'Amico, Mayor Pro Tem Horvath. I respect the work that all of you do so much. I'm constantly in awe of how well prepared you are for these. I love the fact that I have relationships with all of you. We can have discussions on anything, and you might go, oh, that Rob Bergstein, he's crazy, I disagree. I might go, that council member, they're crazy, I disagree. But we work together to make our city better, and I so appreciate the work that you do. Thank you.
Thank you, Rob. John Erickson to be followed by Steve Martin.
Hello, Mayor D'Amico and Mayor Pro Tem Horvath. I'm here on behalf of Planned Parenthood Advocacy Project Los Angeles County Action Fund tonight. I'm the Director of Public Affairs, and I'm here to thank you for your support of item 2AA on your agenda. Thank you, Mayor Horvath, for bringing that, Mayor Pro Tem Horvath, for bringing that forward. We live in America's first pro-choice city here. I'm also a resident of West Hollywood, and it's really important. And I want to just give you a quick stat. 1 in 3 women of reproductive age lives in a state right now where abortion could be outlawed if Roe is overturned. That's actually a total of 25 million women. And I want people to think about that actual statistic and when it comes to what could happen if these bans on abortion in these states actually goes up to the Supreme Court and Roe v. Wade, which is the exact reason why these bans are happening, is actually overturned. 25 million women will be without the type of care to determine their own reproductive futures and freedoms. And I want to thank you for bringing this item forward and for continuing to lead on behalf of reproductive access, choice, and I hope everyone can join us tomorrow at 10 a.m. Outside West Hollywood City Hall in the back area for a press conference and rally. We have a ton of groups coming out, and it's really important we show our solidarity here so that way we can make sure our friends and colleagues in Missouri, Alabama, Georgia, and wherever else these restrictions come up know that we are there with them, we're fighting with them, and we will not let this go unchallenged. Thank you.
Thank you, John. Steve Martin, to be followed by Jeffrey Buck.
Steve Martin, West Hollywood, and I want to congratulate John D'Amico and Lindsey Horvath on your promotions. It's very exciting, and thank you, John, for both your inspirational speech and for recognizing an endangered species here in West Hollywood for spouses. I also want to thank Councilmember Heilman for moving to adjourn tonight's meeting in regard to tartar sauce, also known as the late Grumpy Cat. The Grumpy Cat was probably the only feline that John Heilman could actually relate to, so thank you on that, John. I also
Without objection.
I also want to thank John Duran for 2Z. We really are facing a crisis. We do send referred tenants to some very well-respected tenants organizations like Bedzedek, but they're just overwhelmed, and we really need to figure out a new approach. And I think that I appreciate the fact that you're bringing this forward, because tenants are very much under siege here, and we really need to rethink how we do things. The way we've been doing things has always been good-hearted, but times have changed, and landlords have gotten much more aggressive and much more creative on how to impact tenants. And then just in closing, I think it's important for times like this when we're celebrating also to reflect on the state of our community values and how those values attach to City Hall. And while we're excited about moving forward, to be focused on not just moving forward, but where we're going is always important. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Martin. Jeff Buck, to be followed by James Nguyen.
Hello, City Council. I'm here to speak on item 2Y. That's the Urban Forest Symposium that you are planning. I'm here to represent the West Hollywood Tree Preservation Society, your local urban forest community partner. We've been around for 20 years helping the city with its urban forest, and we're very happy to see the state of our urban forest in the city at the present time. So you're planning to have a symposium, and I'd like you to know that you have the full support of the West Hollywood Tree Preservation Society, and we will do all we can to support the city in this effort. Thank you.
Thank you. James Nguyen, to be followed by Carrie Balbone.
Good evening and congratulations, Mayor D'Amico, Mayor Pro Tem Horvath, and members of City Council on the 2019 reorganization. My name is James Nguyen. I do serve on the West Hollywood Transgender Advisory Board. This evening I'm speaking on item 2AA. I wanted to share first of all that in choosing to come up to talk about an issue of life in abortion, I did view U.S. Representative Katie Hill's video in which she candidly shared about her experiences in a time of her life. And because of her courage, I just want to take a moment to talk about it really from the men's point of view, which is the privilege that men do have because of women's right to choose that they've gained in one sense. But I really want to take it a step further to explain the way that I see it, and this is not everyone's point of view. But in short, I believe that if a woman is going to be removed her right to choose on especially unplanned pregnancies, and unplanned pregnancies unfortunately include devastating incidences such as rape, that the father that's named, and there should be a paternity test that's given in that situation, then that individual that is shown to be the paternal person, perhaps they need to have a vasectomy, an automatic mandated vasectomy, because then it's sort of the same, right? You're not allowing women to have a choice than men who, there would not be this unplanned pregnancy without sperm. And therefore, men who are not going to support their women and allowing them to make that choice, and it is their choice, the men can not have a choice about whether or not they should have a vasectomy. Thank you.
Thank you, James. Carrie Balbone, to be followed by Noemi Torres.
Hi, Carrie Balbone, West Hollywood resident. First, congratulations, Mayor and Mayor Pro Tem. I've got 2 items. For item 2N, parking decals, please work with Ryden to reinforce messaging around preventing auto theft by just simply reminding people when they have decals to remove items from their car. Vehicle burglary is increasing consistently, and we need creative ways to remind people to look, lock, and play. And then for item 2AA, I commend the city for taking a stance to support women's choice in making healthcare decisions. But we need to double down. Women's healthcare issues are under attack, and I ask that the city goes one step further in creating a resolution or a tag-on resolution supporting the proposed $18 million facing the state legislature right now for women's health equity for lesbian, queer, and bisexual women. They are underserved. 50% experience discrimination when they seek health care. 30% struggle with access. They are at higher risk for mental health and substance abuse. And at a time when women's health care is under attack, I think we need to double down and do whatever it takes. I know the city has sent a letter of endorsement. I think we should look for other ways to increase the focus on women's health care and include lesbian, queer, and bisexual women. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Noemi Torres, to be followed by Jeff Steves. Jess Steves, excuse me.
Evening, council, members of the community, thank you for having me. Noemi Torres, West Hollywood resident. Congratulations, Mayor D'Amico and Mayor Pro Tem Horvath on your reorganization. It is a pleasure to serve with you. Tonight, I'd like to share with you an excellent way that a company is giving back, which is their name, says it all, the Giving Keys. At the Giving Keys, they want to inspire the world to pay it forward. So they've built it into how they do business. Through their social impact employment model, every product that is purchased supports job creation for people transitioning out of homelessness. As of this afternoon, 159,273 hours of work has been created. It is a constant cycle of inspiring, dreaming, and creating. I met a couple of the individuals that work there, Eric, Betty, and Larry, whom actually inscribed the keys that are in front of you tonight, and they had amazing stories to share. In time for Pride, they've just launched their Chrome collection. It is a key that is full of color, and any type of wording such as love, hope, joy, create, believe, etc. can be inscribed. You're able to obtain that with their website or their headquarters in downtown. I'm volunteering to share this information, so, I just want to help my friend, Britt Gilmore, who's the president at the Giving Keys. And in addition, they wanted to invite you all. On June 6th, they have an event with the Lucky brand, who crowdsourced 3 LGBTQ designers to make a collection of shirts, and 10% of the proceeds will be going to the LGBTQ homeless youth in Hollywood. There will be shopping, free drinks, and all invited to support. In the near future, I would love to recommend and encourage the City Council to recognize the Giving Keys with an acknowledgement of their efforts. And I also, in terms of what's happening with tomorrow, John Erickson mentioned the National Day of Action Against Abortion. It's happening tomorrow at 10, so thank you for supporting that.
Thank you very much, Noemi. Jess Steves, to be followed by Lynn, etc.
Good evening, council and staff, and special congratulations to Mayor D'Amico and Mayor Pro Tem Horvath. My name is Jess Stever, and I am a union representative at UFCW 770, specifically representing our cannabis division. 770 has been organizing workers in the cannabis industry because upon legalization, cannabis workers have an historic opportunity to improve their working conditions through collective bargaining. Workers at stores like MedMen have made history by negotiating a contract that guarantees competitive wages, fully employer-paid health care, and a strong voice on the job, which not only raises standards at their own workplace, but sets a high platform for labor standards in the entire industry. The members that I represent at MedMen West Hollywood are anxious that the livelihoods they fought so hard to secure through their collective bargaining agreement will be lost at the end of the year if the original 4 West Hollywood cannabis dispensaries are not granted permanent recreational licenses. They are anxious that they will lose the health care and income that they rely on.
and they are anxious that they will no longer be able to service the community that they work and play in. Our union has been working with the 4 original shops to gather petitions from residents and customers who overwhelmingly support grandfathering in the 4 original West Hollywood cannabis dispensaries. These patients and consumers love their bud tenders, who they have come to trust and depend on for excellent, compassionate service. They don't want to see their favorite bud tenders lose their jobs. We eagerly anticipate the next licensing update from the council in June, and we continue to urge the council to reconsider grandfathering in the 4 original West Hollywood cannabis dispensaries. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Jess Steves. Lynn, et cetera, to be followed by Brandon Perrin.
Lynn, et cetera, West Hollywood. Continuing my rant about council meetings on Monday instead of Wednesday or Thursday. For decades, this council has talked the talk. I think city employees should be given an extra paid half-hour off at lunch so they can go to the Monday farmers market. On to more important. SB 50 was put into suspension, i.e. pulled, the Senate's equivalent of veto. Thank you, Senator Anthony Portantino. I think he just saved the 2020 elections. What would have happened if SB 50 was signed into law is the Howard Jarvis Taxpayers Association, along with a huge number of others, would have filed a ballot proposition, and I think we would have lost 8 to 12 Senate or Assembly seats, definitely our supermajority. I believe Scott Weiner, the author of SB 50, is a wolf in sheep's clothing. The destruction that would be caused by open zoning of single home neighborhoods would be a multi-tidal wave of negativity to every Democratic candidate nationwide. Every state legislator who is in a swing district should work, donate, and ensure Scott Weiner is primaried March 3rd and defeated in November. Hopefully Jane Kim will run again. She was narrowly defeated. The San Francisco Board of Supervisors voted 9-2 against SB 50 and Scott Weiner in District 11. Again, I thank Senator Annie Portantino. The insanity of giving Howard Jarvis Tax Association an opening big enough for a miles-long stream of semi-truck trailers to plow through. Mr. Weiner is insane.
Thank you, Lynn. Brandon Perrin to be followed by Julie DeCastro.
Hello, my name is Brandon Perrin. I've been a manager at Zen West Hollywood for the last 7 years and a West Hollywood resident for the last 15 years. As many of you know, Zen West Hollywood has been a member of the West Hollywood community since 2004. But we've never felt like just a business in the city. We know that we were a part of a trailblazing group that risked everything to help patients obtain relief they needed. But we did this under constant fear of raids and jail. But we did this because we knew it was right. Our customers have been very vocal in their support of allowing us to keep our adult use license. They understand that allowing just medical sales will not allow us to remain open. That's why 391 of our customers, 120 of them West Hollywood residents, signed these support cards in just one day. It's hard to explain to our customers that the city is planning to rescind its approval of our adult use license. Over the years, they have come to rely on us to know them, guide them to the best decisions. Our customers are devastated over the possibility of our shop closing. Not only will our customers be hurt, but our staff, many of which have been with us for a long time, will also lose their jobs. I think you said it best, Mayor. In the city of West Hollywood, no one gets left behind. But part of us feels like we're being just that, left behind. We want to continue to be a key member of our community, but without this permanent license, we'll be forced to leave. Now, the state of California no longer sees the difference between medical and adult use cannabis, and West Hollywood shouldn't either. Thank you.
Thank you, Brandon. Julie DeCastro to be followed by Emily Allen.
I'm Chile de Castro, Lauren, Lindsey, Michael, Paul, John. How you guys doing? Great night tonight, right? Great celebration. You know, I thought I would just come and talk to you guys because such a personable group of people, such personalities and characters you all are, easy to talk to, relatable. You all love this city. I live right here in the city. I've lived here for almost 20 years now. It's my 20th year. So, you know, we all have personal preferences that we like. You know, we all go to the same barber over and over, well, beautician, forgive me. We all go in West Hollywood, we all go to the same dog groomer. I know that someone on this panel up here loves their dog immensely, right? You don't go to a different dog groomer every time for your dog, do you? So, and then you stop at the same Whole Foods right there on Fairfax. I go there because I know the layout and I like how the hot bar's on this side. You know, we do these things because we're naturally creatures of habit, you know. As a sociologist, I've studied different groups of people my entire life, and I've looked at different kinds of cultures and the way things work. And we all work in a certain pattern, you know. And myself, I've been a customer and a patient of these dispensaries that are losing their licenses. And one in particular, Zen WeHo, you just heard from the manager. I've known that guy for 24 years of my life. And I've been going to that particular dispensary for the past 14 years. I went there one time, everybody's all hemmed up, hands on their head, cops out there, guns to their heads. I saw it. So, you know, you talk about a group of people who have put in a long time and sacrifice to be that person, to be there to do your hair, to groom your dog, to go get the hot bar, you know. So, I mean, I know you guys, in your head, you may have already decided, like we decided. No, you didn't. This is the city of West Hollywood. We do whatever we want here. Everybody else envies us. We're the shit, okay? Listen, congratulations, John. Congratulations, Lindsey. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Chile.
Give Zen WeHo their license and give the other 4 their license. Come on.
Thank you
Break
very
some
much.
rules. God bless you all.
Emily Allen to be followed by Denise Padilla.
Hi, everyone. I would like to thank you for the opportunity to speak with you all tonight. My name is Emily Allen. I've worked in the industry for over 3 years and have been at Medman for about a month. Within the last month, I have been blown away with Medman as a company and as a family. I was immediately impressed with upper management's ability to build a strong team that resembles what the company stands for. Being a part of a union gives me a sense of security and a sense that the company I work for cares about my well-being. It's a breath of fresh air coming into a warm family environment every time I walk through the door. My favorite thing about working in the industry is providing individuals with natural medication to help with their anxiety, depression, cancer, and many other things. With other shops, there is the uncertainty of not knowing if the product is a counterfeit. With Medman, we guarantee all our products are what they say they are. As a company, we care about getting our customers the best products. Also, Medman donates to many different organizations throughout the year. We are currently working with SPCALA to provide food and other necessities to animal shelters. I cannot think of another company that cares as much as Medman does. If we close down, it will be detrimental to the community and to all the wonderful people working for Medman. We as employees love Medman just as much as the community. Please keep us open so we can continue to provide the community with the most trustworthy products and service in the industry. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, and have a great night.
Thank you very much, Emily. Denise Padilla to be followed by Cindy Carr. And there's a couple more people after that, so if anyone else wishes to sign up, we're almost done with our public comment.
Hi, good evening. I would like to thank you all for your time. My name is Denise Padilla.
Denise, put the microphone in front of your mouth.
Okay.
There you go.
I'm a hospitality associate at Medman West Hollywood. I used to be a customer at Medman West Hollywood when I first came to the store. I felt comfortable. It was the first time I felt comfortable at a cannabis dispensary. I was immediately impressed by the sense of family and team's desire to assist me with finding solutions for my anxiety and my depression. After my experience there, I thought it would be an amazing opportunity to work for a company and to help others with similar struggles as I. Once employed, I was able to truly see the benefits for working for Medman and truly be a part of a great organization that feels like family. Working with Medman gives me a sense of security by being a part of the union. I also benefit from their competitive wages along with having benefits paid for the company. These benefits These are the benefits that most companies do not offer, especially for part-time employees like myself. It's also a great part being a part of a company that truly appreciates their community. Just recently, MedMen has partnered with SPCA to provide food and toys for pets and shelters. They've also participated with the Red Cross in helping others. MedMen has given me a stable income, and possibility of losing our license puts that in jeopardy. The community would also be losing a big staple. I came to MedMen looking for help, and it's a great feeling knowing that I can help others. Thank you for your time. I appreciate it.
Thank you very much, Ms. Padilla. Cindy Carr, to be followed by Winston Mishak-Bennett.
Hello, good evening. Thank you for your time. My name is Cindy, and I chose to work for MedMen because it has just become so well known, so popular, especially in the city of West Hollywood. The legal cannabis industry has created many safe jobs. I personally have worked for other dispensaries. None of them were as safe, and the quality probably wasn't as good. And I have been with this company for over a year. During this time, I have seen MedMen and other companies come together and unionize. It has been a truly amazing thing to see. I have worked in a union before, but none that has offered free benefits for every single employee, full-time, part-time. As a millennial trying to make an honest living during these times, losing MedMen in my life would have such a negative impact. It would also have a negative impact on the community and its increasing amounts of tourists. I have seen so many eclectic groups of people walk through our doors looking for relief, looking for comfort, or just simply looking for a fun night in West Hollywood. Our neighbors are benefiting from MedMen being a destination location for all tourists all over the world. Our customers purchase their items here and always ask, what's a good place around here to eat? Where can I do some shopping? And I always recommend something local, like mom and pop, pop and pop, because I love WeHo, and I want nothing more than to continue to work here. Thank you.
Thank you. Winston Mishak-Bennett, and then Stephanie Harker and Michael King will be our last speaker.
Hi. Good evening, members of the West Hollywood City Council. Thank you for your time. My name is Winston Mishak-Bennett, and I'm here to speak and represent MedMen West Hollywood. Like many of my coworkers, my first time setting foot into a MedMen was as a customer. My first time was definitely the most informative experience I have ever had buying cannabis. I can most certainly assure you of that. But it was also the first time I felt like I knew what I was buying, where I knew this will help me with a specific thing, because I was buying cannabis for insomnia as well as anxiety. That day I had the pleasure of meeting some amazing people who helped me to find some of the best products that I've had, some things that I use consistently every day to help me get through the daily rigmaroles of LA life, you know? Let me see, at that very time though, I had 2 jobs. So I wasn't looking to necessarily work for MedMen. I was also going to grad school and so on and so forth. But a year later, the opportunity came and I said, why not? I can totally see myself selling weed for a living. After going into MedMen shops, seeing how they work, seeing how aesthetically everything worked, everything was pleasing, and how they were an integral part of the community. Also, MedMen offered more competitive wages than most of the businesses in the area, as well as full dental, vision, and medical benefits for both full and part-time employees. So no matter what I was doing as a student, as an entrepreneur, I was still able to get the basic necessities that I needed in order to survive. The truth be told, it really would have been foolish for me to pass up that offer. So since joining the MedMen team, I've had the opportunity to not only meet with great people, network with people from all walks of life, but I've also had the opportunity to help a lot of people who suffer from all types of ailments and illnesses. MedMen, if we were to lose our license, then 60 employees would lose their primary source of income as well as their source of benefits. So, yeah.
Thanks so much, Winston. Stephanie Harker and then Michael King.
Good evening, Stephanie Harker, City West Hollywood. Thank you for your service, Mayor D'Amico and Mayor Pro Tem Lindsey Horvath in advance for the year. I attended the Russian Festival yesterday. Thank you, Councilmember Heilman and Councilmember Meister, for attending. It was a great event. However, I was dismayed by a Scientology booth this event, and people from representing that organization, which claims to be a church, so it should not be happening on government property. And there are Scientologists, Christians handing out flyers, and Jehovah's Witnesses. So I don't know how, or if it's freedom of speech to buy a booth, and then maybe our attorney can help us with that. Anyway, it was a great event, lots of fun. I wanted to thank Councilmember Meister for the forestry symposium. I hope the city will go forward with that. We all know the importance of trees. And again, this, as with the urban, if we could somehow invite maybe high schoolers, if it's that level of information going out, to attend that symposium, that would be terrific. Wanted to thank Councilmember Duran for 2Z. I live in a apartment building for 35 years now, and our landlord, who has owned it for 35 years, has made it his practice to try and get rid of long-term tenants, and people are all of a sudden need an attorney that they didn't know they were going to need, and it's very expensive, so if we could get help with that, that would be great. Also, back to Yes on E, please vote in June. It means full-time libraries, full-time librarians, a full-time school nurse, which they don't have right now, if you can imagine that, and smaller class size. Those who are opposing EE, if you follow the money, it's real estate developers. They do not want to pay their fair share. Yes on EE in June. Please vote. You know what happened in 2016 when some didn't.
Thank you very much, Stephanie. Michael King is our last speaker.
Thank you, council members. Congratulations, Mr. Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem, on your elevation. I want to speak on 5F tonight. There are a number of reasons for 5F and a number of reasons against 5F. Currently, each council member has a representative voice on each of the city's boards and commissions. By passing 5F, those direct conduits to the business of the commissions will go away. If a commissioner, just for the audience, I am an appointed commissioner. I'm a direct appointee of one of the council members. If I or any other appointee misbehaves, either toward the public or toward staff, our appointed council member gets to call us up and say, don't do that, quit doing it. And they can pull us off of our commission appointment. They can take away our appointment. We serve at their pleasure. If we're an at-large person and you have to take us off a commission, it has to happen here, and it becomes a whole public discussion, and it becomes a vote, and it becomes an agenda item. If you make everybody at large, you're going to have an exposure to a lot more of that. It's actually, we have a 35-year-old system that has a lot of integrity to it, and by dissolving this system, knocking the legs out from under it is actually what this is doing, and it's going to bring the integrity of the system into public question. It's a great way to get commissioners who object to a pet project out of the way. Not that I'm complaining about anything like that, but the result would be the equivalent to the passage of SB 50 that was brought up earlier. My time's running out. We'll end up with why we'd want it. We'd have a homogenization of opinions by commissioners, no pesky differing views. Council members don't really have to do as much homework to find appointees. Staff can do some of the work. Fewer citizens might want to serve. There'd be a lower expense. And finally, we'll align city government with Mitch McConnell's Senate. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. King. We will now go to council member comments. Who would like to begin? John?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. First of all, congratulations to you and Lindsey on your installation this evening as our mayor and mayor pro tem, and I wish you well in the upcoming year ahead. I just wanted to take a quick moment to thank my colleagues for supporting item 2Z, which is the right to counsel for tenants. We all know that the current housing dilemma in the state of California is very difficult. It's especially severe in places like West Hollywood, which are highly desirable, where the savagery of free markets ends up driving up prices. And there is an incentive for unscrupulous landlords to evict long-term tenants in order to take advantage of Costa-Hawkins and replace a longstanding tenant with a new tenant at a new market rate where the rent is then recontrolled. I think that historically we have relied on CES, the Coalition for Economic Survival, to provide free services in Plummer Park. Before I became an elected member of the City Council, I was a volunteer attorney at CES for many years, and so I'm familiar with the process and procedures that they use there. What they do is if somebody's getting evicted, they will fill out an answer for the tenant, but they won't represent the tenant in court. A tenant who is in court is an automatic disadvantage when a landlord has legal counsel who knows the law, who knows the rules of evidence and the rules of procedure, and has the ability to knock out a long-term tenant who's in essence left with a piece of paper that a nonprofit organization prepared for him or her. The other option we've been using historically is BetZedek, which has intervened where possible, but as one of the previous public speakers said, they're severely overwhelmed at the moment. And I think that, look, when I've been in, because I occasionally get to the landlord-tenant court downtown or at the Santa Monica courthouse, on any particular morning, there are 50 to 60 landlord-tenant cases on calendar. And you can tell who's going to win and who's going to lose just by who has an attorney and who does not. I think that we need to give our tenants access to legal counsel in order to give them the same advantages and the ability to defend their home. In my mind, this is a homelessness prevention item. We are trying to keep many of our long-term tenants from becoming homeless. Somebody gets evicted from their unit in West Hollywood, a rent-controlled unit. In order to get a comparable market price, they're going to have to move to Palmdale, Lancaster, or the Inland Empire, and they will leave the home, the only home they've known for possibly decades. So to me, this is about evening the playing field to give tenants attorneys and legal counsel. And the other benefit that legal counsel provides is the negotiations and settlements that can occur on the courthouse steps. And a tenant who does not have legal counsel at his or her side is, again, at a disadvantage when a landlord's lawyer knows the law and knows the rules and the court procedures. So I think that, in essence, if we pass this, and we are passing it tonight, and if staff analyzes it carefully, and we figure out a way to have attorneys available for tenants, we'll prevent unfair evictions, or we'll prevent seniors or people with disabilities or HIV from being rendered homeless. Will keep people intact in our community. And the reality is we have 18,000 housing units. You know, unlike Los Angeles next door, where they have millions of units, we only need to focus on 18,000. It's doable. It's something we can get our heads and our hands around. And I think it's really important that we protect the 36,000 people who live here, that they continue to live here, work here, and play here. So I think this is a very important item. I want to thank my colleagues for supporting it, and I look forward to staff's recommendations on how we can assist tenants in fair play in the courts. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. I'd like to congratulate my colleagues, Mayor D'Amico and Mayor Pro Tem Horvath. I look forward to continuing our work on neighborhood-friendly policies, protecting our rent-stabilized housing, revitalizing Sunset, improving our parks, and helping our business community to flourish. And if that sounds like my wish list, it is. I also have a concern about the T-shirt, only that if I wear it at the gym, I may get tackled. So I'd say we should be careful about those T-shirts. I want to thank staff and the Russian Advisory Board for a successful Russian Arts and Culture event, and also the Public Safety Awards, and also World Dog Day, which was a lot of fun because we all know our West Hollywood dogs are awesome. And item on the consent calendar, item 2R, I know that I mentioned this the last time it was on our agenda, but it got pulled, just to say that I understand that the lease with Kuntz is 5 years, and if this is approved, which it seems it will be, that, you know, I suggest that we start having a conversation about our future City Hall. And on item 2W, on the renovations for the WeHo station, I guess I just don't, I don't understand why we're paying for a computer server. I mean, it's not a lot of money, and the money is not the point, but I just wondered if, you know, our sheriffs are supposed to be responsible for some of their own equipment, and it seems to me a computer server is an important piece of equipment that, that they should be making sure that they have what they need. I want to thank Councilmember Duran for item 2Z. This is something also that, you know, we've had a similar conversation when we've talked about our seniors and how do we keep them in their housing to make sure that they can age in place. So thank you for bringing that forward. And item 2AA, thank you, Mayor Pro Tem, for bringing that forward. I assume that we're going to be adding Alabama and Missouri to that list. Those are my comments. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Councilmember Heilman.
Yes, thank you, and I want to join in congratulating both you and Lindsey. I thought tonight would be a little anticlimactic because you both have been serving in this role already, but it was really a wonderful evening, and thank you for your remarks. I did talk to the city manager about items 5A and 5B, and I am prepared to move them to consent if people are willing to do that at this point. My concerns about both of those items is that the reports focused on the actions for the last year and really didn't focus on what the future actions are. So if we can make sure that when the public hearing comes forward, the reports really look forward in terms of what work is going to be done. And particularly with 5B, I'd like to see a comparison to what was done last year or what was proposed last year and accomplished compared to what's being proposed this year. Item 2Z, I want to thank John Duran for bringing this forward. As you know, a lot of times by the time it gets to court, it is often too late because the tenant has defaulted in paying the rent. I hope that as staff looks at legal counsel, they also look at ways that we might enhance our rental assistance programs to prevent people from getting into that position where they have not paid the rent, and maybe expanding that program somewhat. I wanted to thank all of the participants who joined us with the home walk downtown. This is an event that's sponsored to prevent by United Way, and it's designed to prevent and encourage programs that fight homelessness. And we had a whole team from City Hall. Along with me, we had Corey Plank, Alex Baisley, Jenny Ivanova, Elizabeth Anderson, Diane Kahn-Epstein and her family, Joseph Santangelo, Robert Gamboa, Seppi Shine, Nate Clark and Alan Loeb and family, Carrie Balbone, Nicole and Matt Payton, David Juni and Daryl Wright. There is still time to donate. You can go to www.weho.org/homeless, and you can contribute to the United Way's Fight Homelessness program. Along with Councilmember Meister, I want to congratulate everyone involved with the Russian cultural event this past weekend. It was really well received, well attended, and despite the bad weather on Sunday, we had a big crowd. And finally, on item 2U, I am supporting that item. I would like staff to come back to us at a later point. Our contract with the county for mental health services has a clinician who is providing assessment, processing, and reporting on mental health cases among the homeless individuals in the city. What I don't really see in our contract is the next step, which is conservatorships for those who are unable to care for themselves due to mental health problems. So I'm hoping that we'll get a staff report on that at some point in the future. And those were all my comments. Thank you.
Thank you, John. Mayor Pro Tem?
Thank you, Mayor. I too want to congratulate everyone who made happen and participated in the Russian Arts and Cultural event. It was quite a success, a lot of fun, always good food that I am very happy to enjoy, and a great time for the community to come out and be together. So thank you for everyone who made it happen. As a couple of comments, I want to thank, I'm not sure if Mike Aguilera is still here, but our representative who's here earlier tonight, Mike from Congressman Schiff's office, we haven't had the opportunity to officially congratulate him on his marriage. He got married on May 3rd to his husband, Jeremy, and we wish them many congratulations and years full of love and success together. Also want to congratulate John Erickson, who was here earlier tonight. He graduated this Sunday from Claremont Graduate School with a PhD in American Religious History. Congratulations all around in the community. Since our last meeting, I attend a few meetings that I need to report. The Mid-City West community meeting regarding Metro. I represented the city at the Inglewood State of the City, where the mayor, who is also our MTA board rep, gave a wonderful presentation and included how the Crenshaw Northern Extension will help to connect our communities. I represented the city at the Sanitation District, as well as the Liability Trust Fund Oversight Committee at their regular meeting. I served at the Clean Power Alliance Executive Committee and Legislative Committee, and finally with Contract Cities, both on the Legislative Committee and at the recent annual municipal seminar. I especially want to thank John Leonard, Janet Jimenez, Danny Rivas, and our new captain, Ed Ramirez, who stayed all the way to the end. I had the honor of being sworn in as Secretary-Treasurer for the organization on Saturday night, and they stayed for the celebration, which was very nice to have their support. It gives us a seat at the table, as they say, in discussing our contracting needs regarding the Sheriff's Department, the Fire Department, and all the ways that we contract for service in the city. So thank you especially to them, and I appreciate your support in being there, and we'll have more discussions coming forward. On our agenda tonight, my question on 2E had to do with the comment about late night service. I'm wondering if we might be able to take the resources from late night service, if it's not really a popular service, and transfer it to expanding weeknight service. I hear lots of comment in the community that the commuter service might experience more attendance if people were able to get from downtown to the Red Line, or from the Red Line into West Hollywood a little bit later. I think it stops around 7 or so, and some people work just a little bit later than that. So just that's my only comment on that item. I'm glad to see that item 2O is going to bring a West Hollywood archive. It's important to know our history, and so I want to thank our staff who's making that happen. On item 2U, I'm glad to see the mental evaluation team extension of the contract. Their service is specifically with regard to the Sheriff's Department and how we're able to serve those who are experiencing mental illness. And it allows our sheriff's deputies to have someone who's a mental health service provider to respond. So rather than criminalizing those who may be struggling with mental illness, they're actually diagnosed on the spot, brought to care. It's a resource that very few cities in the county have. In fact, only 2 existed in the county of LA before we brought someone full-time to West Hollywood. So I'm excited to see this expansion, and interested to see how that person is able to help us in the ways we're trying to address the homelessness issue in particular. I, too, want to thank Councilmember Duran for including us in the regional conversation, essential to protecting renters' legal rights. Thank you for item 2Z. Excited to see what staff brings back to us. And finally, I am very grateful to my colleagues for supporting item 2AA tonight. Today, consistent with our pro-choice stance as a city, we are the first in the nation to take action to oppose those states that have adopted these extreme abortion bans, threatening the rights, the autonomy, and the livelihood and safety of women all throughout the country. This isn't just about politics. This isn't just about policy. This is personal. And what the goal of these bans is for there to be a Supreme Court challenge, as we all know. So this isn't some sort of theoretical, hypothetical situation. This is a real existential threat right now, and we will be directly impacted in our state and throughout the country because of these bans. So the moment is now to act. I'm grateful that there will be a press conference tomorrow morning at West Hollywood City Hall with Pro-Choice America's coalition, #StopTheBans. We will be gathering at West Hollywood City Hall at 10 a.m., joined by a variety of local and national pro-choice organizations to call for an end to these bans, to protect and defend women and our rights to choose. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mayor Pro Tem. I spoke plenty earlier. I just have one question about item 2.0, which is part of our archive, and perhaps this is a different ongoing staff item, but I wonder if we are also, along with developing the storage of these works, developing a program plan for displaying them, finding some way and ways to get these archives into the community, either through the internet or these actual items themselves. So if there's not, then I will work on a staff report to do that. I thought that as part of the 30th anniversary that Councilmember Heilman had sort of put that forward, that we should be using the West Hollywood room upstairs in the library. So I don't know. You may not have the answer to that, Paul, but I just do want to sort of keep moving forward with that as well. As others have said, I thank my colleague John Duran for bringing forward the item about legal services for people who require them to stay in their housing. I think all of us, in every possible way, are concerned about our housing and keeping people as safe and in it for as long as possible. So those are my comments. And the city manager's report.
Thank you, Mayor, and congratulations to the Mayor and Mayor Pro Tem once again. Just a couple of quick announcements. Building and Safety, Beverly Hills will be hosting a soft story seismic retrofit resource fair Thursday, May 30th from 1 to 6. West Hollywood property owners are invited to attend the event. We will have staff at the fair, and information is available on our website. One City, One Pride LGBTQ Arts Festival kicks off on Harvey Milk Day this Wednesday, the 22nd, with a staged reading of Dear Harvey. Cast features Emmy winner Bruce Valanche, trans activist Gia Gunn, and our mayor, John D'Amico, and many others. You can RSVP to the event at Visit West Hollywood/Pride. For 2E, in terms of looking at the transit demand options, staff is very comfortable doing that. I guess the question for council is based on that direction to explore that. Do we have, at the staff level, the authority to make changes to match demand, or do you want us to come back with an item? What was it?
I say match demand.
Okay, match demand. Okay.
I'm comfortable with that.
Perfect. Item 2.0, yes, that is going to be part of the work that we're doing on our creating an archive policy, is also creating methods for displaying those works. So that is part of that work. So that concludes my report. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I guess actually I forgot one thing, which is that, and maybe I can do this when I return, but I am, as we discussed at the last meeting, I am going to tomorrow to the International Conference on Climate Action, Collaboration Climate Action, invited by the German government, paid for by several parts of the government, the local city, the state, and the federal government. This is part of the International Conference on Climate Change that is hosted through the UN, and there are several conferences each year. This one is about small government and what they can do, and the members of the We Are Still In and the Climate Mayors are part of this effort. It also includes mostly representatives from the Global South, though we have been invited because of our long history with sustainability and climate change efforts. And I will report back when I return on just exactly what happened while I was there. So thank you very much. We have now the consent calendar in front of us. May I have the fiscal impact on the consent calendar?
The fiscal impact on tonight's consent calendar with the addition of items 5A, 5B, 5C, 5E, and 5G, and the removal of item 2P is $692,376 in expenditures, $1,000 in potential revenue, and $1,726 in waived fees.
Thank you
Move
very
the
much.
consent
We have
calendar.
a motion and a second, and we are ready to mark our votes. There we go. Motion passes 5-0. Next, we have two public hearings, and before we open the public hearing, I'm wondering if we can put these two public hearings together. If my colleagues need a presentation, it doesn't look like we have any speakers on these items.
No, we do not.
So maybe you could just introduce the titles, and then we could have our discussion, and we could see if we need to have a further discussion.
Yes, gladly. Good evening, Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem, and council members. First of all, congratulations to both of you. City staff is very happy for you, and thanks for the T-shirt. It's very stylish. I'm Dimitri, I'm the city engineer, and this item before you tonight, both of them actually, the City Council will consider approving this city solid waste and sewer rates increase for this fiscal year coming up. It's a pretty straightforward item. What we're asking for tonight is the consumer pricing index increase. And I just wanted to point out very briefly, there is a typo on one of the reports for the solid waste on page 2. In the table at the bottom of the page, I accidentally wrote that the proposed rate is for fiscal year 2018, 2019. Actually, it should be 2019, 2020. And the rate will go from $225.32 annually to $230.82 for the collection and recycling rate for 1 to 4 units. The rate will go from $34.39 annually to $35.23 for the recycling rate for 5 or more units, which is a very, very slight increase because it's only based on the CPI, which is in conformance with Proposition 218, which requires that the rates that we charge the consumer are directly proportionate to the actual cost of the service that we provide. And these two items have been properly noticed to the public, and they are also in the contract that we have currently with Athens Services. They are entitled to a rate increase from 1 year to the next per the CPI. Therefore, staff is recommending that council approve both rate increases tonight.
Thank you very much. So the public hearing is open. Are there any comments? Anyone wish to? John?
I would move to close both public hearings and approve both recommendations.
They've been moved and seconded. We're ready to vote on items.
I have a very quick question.
Councilmember
And
Meister.
sometimes you talk about the CPI, sometimes you talk about CPI-U, and I know that's for urban. In our contract, is there a difference between CPI and CPI?
No, they're both one and the same.
It's just, the amount is the same?
Right.
Okay, all right, just checking, because...
All right, so we are taking a vote on items 3A and 3B. Thank you, City Clerk. The items pass 5-0. All right, we will now move on to item, and thank you, Dimitri, Oscar. Item 5D. It's an agreement for services with Ciclavia.
Good evening, Mayor and council members. Do you want a presentation this evening, or would you want to?
We have one speaker, Kevin Burton, who we will certainly want to hear from. Knowing Kevin, I can imagine what he will say. So why don't we keep the presentation limited, and if Kevin raises some questions that we were not expecting, we can have you go back. Is Kevin still here? Oh, there he is. Terrific. All right.
Okay, just briefly, my name's Tara Warden. I'm an assistant planner in the long-range planning team. I'm here tonight with Bianca and Ramel Pasquale, who is the executive director with Ciclavia. So he's here to answer any specific questions about the event itself. We're also here with the special events team and business and public safety. So just a brief background. In September, we were awarded Metro's Open Streets grant in the amount of $500,000. We've been working with Metro and with Ciclavia closely to develop a scope of work that was included in your staff report packet. This scope of work includes a traffic control plan as a subcontract and also a temporary public art installment as a subcontract through that contract process. This is the route map. This will be one of the longest closures in the LA basin that Ciclavia has ever hosted. So we will be, the route takes us from Vermont and Hollywood all the way to Santa Monica and San Vicente. It's a total of 6.5 miles, about split more or less than half and half between the city of LA and the city of West Hollywood. It's, as I said, 6.5 miles of car-free roadway, providing pedestrians, bicyclists, skateboarders, and other non-motorized wheeled vehicles ultimate access to some of the most iconic streets in the LA region. The staff report recommends that council do the following: approve the agreement for services with Ciclavia, authorize the acceptance of Metro's Open Streets grant, $500,000, authorize the city manager or designee to execute documents related to this event, approve the waiver of special event permit fees for Ciclavia, approve waiver fees for local businesses to participate in storefront activations, and authorize the allocation of $223,700 from unallocated general fund reserves. This is the breakdown of the cost estimates that we've developed with our internal team. As you can see, there's an offset fund of $500,000 that we received from Metro. And that concludes my presentation.
And the date of this is still on August 18th?
Yes.
Okay. Were there questions, other questions from the council? And Kevin, if you wanted to come up and speak, do you want to?
Kevin can speak first.
Please,
course.
Kevin.
Good evening, Council. I'm here speaking on behalf of the West Hollywood Bicycle Coalition, and we are very pleased that a Ciclavia is coming to Hollywood and West Hollywood. And the combination is very important because, as Tara said, it's going to be one of the longest Ciclavias, and through the most iconic part of Los Angeles, other than downtown, that a Ciclavia has yet passed. And we know that West Hollywood knows how to throw a party, a street party, an open streets party, does a much better job than LA in that regard. So I'm very hopeful that come August 11th, the city will make it a great event. I just, this Sunday, went to a Ciclavia in South Pasadena, Alhambra, San Gabriel. And these small cities close their main streets to have this big open streets event. Lots of people on non-motorized vehicles having a lot of fun, walking, rolling, strolling, and seeing the streets like they've never seen it before. And a lot of businesses have crowds of people because there are tens of thousands at these events. And so some of the businesses really benefit. And I know Ciclavia does a great job of reaching out to the businesses ahead of time, reaching out to the residents. They have a lot of experience in doing this. The most recent one near to us was went south from the Hollywood Bowl down to Disney Hall. And I attended a couple of their meetings, and they are very thorough at outreach to businesses and residents ahead of time. They have a lot of experience. So, as I say, we are looking forward to a great community event come August 18th. And like most of the cities, they wanted to come back. I hope we'll benefit in the same way. Thank you, and my thanks especially to Councilmember Horvath for her support in this effort.
Thank you, Kevin. Councilmember Heilman?
Yeah, Kevin alluded to the concern I have. I think this is a great event. It's I've seen it in other locations, but we are closing the street for 2 days as a result of Gay Pride, not as a result of this event, but we are closing for 2 days in June, and now we're going to be closing another day in August, and I'm really concerned about the impact that this will have on our business community. So I want to make sure that the work we're doing with respect to outreach really is addressing the concerns. Yeah, there are a lot of businesses that will thrive as a result of all the people, but there are also businesses in the community that are dependent on automobile traffic and also dependent on deliveries through automobiles. So that's something that we discovered as a result of the Pride closures. We really need to work with the business community to make sure that this is not just something that they're accommodating, but it's something where they can actually benefit. So whether that's allowing outdoor events, a universal permit for all of that activity, that may be some follow-up that you need to come back to us with at a later date. But I appreciate the work of bringing this forward, but I am particularly concerned about the additional impact that it's going to have on our community.
Councilmember Duran.
Thank you, Mayor. I do not support this item. I think that the impact on the community will be significant. Councilmember Heilman just mentioned the business community. I did check with Genevieve Morrill at the Chamber of Commerce to find out if the Chamber had a position on this item, and she told me they just learned about it. There's been no outreach to the Chamber, no outreach to the businesses. You know, it's one thing to say that the food and beverage businesses on Santa Monica Boulevard will thrive, but all the others, gyms, yoga studios, will suffer. All the personal services will suffer. On top of that, unlike Los Angeles is closing a neighborhood. We're talking about closing down our main street all day, from one end of the city to the other end of the city, from La Brea to San Vicente. Our residents, unfortunately, don't have the same sort of ability to maneuver around side streets. If you live north of Santa Monica Boulevard, you really only have Fountain and Sunset to get you east and west. And the thought of all of us who especially live north of Santa Monica Boulevard being forced to either get on Fountain, which already is severely impacted, or up on Sunset in order to get out of our neighborhood is really an extreme impact. I understand the intent about building goodwill between the neighborhoods and wanting to do something with Ciclavia. I just think this goes too far. I think that it impacts us citywide from one end of town to the other. I think it's an incredible burden on our residents and their ability to travel freely on a Sunday in the summer. I don't see any benefit in exchange in terms of tax revenues, and I instead see impacts on all of our businesses. So I think it's a great idea, just not in one of the most dense areas of Southern California, and especially in an area that doesn't have access to a freeway. The people in Hollywood can always hop on the 101 freeway. They've got Franklin, they've got Hollywood, they've got Sunset, they've got Fountain, they've got many opportunities to move around. Our people do not. So I cannot support this item. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Duran. Anyone else wish to speak or make a motion? Councilmember Horvath?
Thank you, and thanks to staff for bringing this forward. I think this effort is a long time in the making. I know that there was a hope that this was going to happen last year, so it actually could have been a good test case to see if what we're proposing for Pride could have worked, but here we are, rolling with it on a different timeline. I think it's for a lot of the reasons that were mentioned, and I want to thank Commissioner Burton for coming out tonight, but especially it's important to remember that these are our streets. It's our public space, and we forget how much public space we give up to cement and cars. And I think experiencing the most walkable city in California on foot for a unique kind of experience for one day is something that I know other communities have benefited from tremendously, not just in tax revenue and in increased business, but also creating community. I think the FaceTime that people have being out with one another is something that can't always happen when you're in your cars one by one down Santa Monica Boulevard. So I'm excited about this event. I'm grateful to Metro for the grant to make it happen and the support of the West Hollywood Bicycle Coalition. And I hope there is support to move it forward. And in fact, I will move it.
Councilmember Meister.
Thank you. I'm supportive, but I just want to know, when is the outreach going to start and how is that going to happen?
Good evening. My name is Romel Pasquale. I'm the Executive Director, and congratulations on the election. We do, Ciclavia is a nonprofit, and we have 6 events throughout this particular calendar year. And so we do our outreach in overlapping times. And so with this particular one being in August, we will be doing the outreach 2 months to 2.5 months prior. It's a door-to-door. Well, we're very unique in that we knock on every door along the entire 6.5. We've had a 15-mile route that we've knocked on the doors, and we did it twice. I mean, 2 times door knocking on every door. And we also do a lot of flyering for any cars that are overnight parking. So we try to really minimize the impacts. And so the outreach happens in multiple times. And in terms of business outreach, we've done 30 events. And so Kevin alluded to the event out in South Pasadena, which was not a Ciclavia. It was an open streets event, but it's kind of like Kleenex. Folks are just kind of, open streets is now has a synonymous name with Ciclavia, which is a good thing. But we do outreach with the businesses, and we've done studies along with UCLA, USC, and the RAND Corporation, which found up to 60% increase of the businesses and sales that day, but also after the event. We've had mattress stores whose businesses have gone up as a result of just new clients. And so in terms of outreach, we go door to door, which is something that very few organizations do. And this is not a hard closure like a marathon would be. There are crossing points for the vehicles. And I remember, I just want to do just a point of history, because back when this was first introduced back in 2009, I served as deputy mayor of LA. And they came to me and said, we're going to do this. And I said, are you crazy? We're the car capital of the world. And we said, okay, let's try it. And so when we did, the very first one on 10-10-10, they reported they being LA Times, reported 100,000 people showed up. And being on the streets, in that public space that we're not used to connecting, in a region that is so big, it felt very small and felt very connected and very inclusive. Now, having done 30 of these, what I tell folks is, it's not about what community you go to and what you visit, it's what you hear. It's literally listening to a certain new sound of a city that you've never heard before. And we know that there aren't walls or barriers or through the boundaries of different cities, and that's what the streets do on Ciclavia. It kind of breaks down that kind of invisible boundary. So I wanted to give that as a point of reference, because I remember being there and saying, let's just try it. And it actually now, 30 events later, 2 million people, 200 miles of streets. Other cities are doing this, Downey, San Fernando, San Dimas to Pomona to Claremont. And we're not the first ones. Bogota was the first one. Now Paris is doing it every year or every week because of air quality. And we actually have done air quality studies and shown that 50% improved air quality as a result of taking for this one day. And so we do have metrics. And so we not only on air quality, economic development, but also on the fact that preventative health, we've had a preventative health article published in Preventive Medicine that showed dollar for dollar the investment in this type of work actually is a benefit to public health.
Thank you, Romo.
I'm sorry. I would just suggest that after the event that we have staff come back to us with an item that is a debrief on how the event went and what we can get on sales and how our expenses reconciled and all that, and our air quality.
And I just want to follow up on what Councilmember Heilman said regarding some kind of business, open business, special permit for certainly the West Hollywood piece. There are several of our businesses that are literally automobile dependent. They're car washes. So any special permits you might give them to allow for them to rent their space for parking or some kind of food trucks or something would certainly perhaps help to offset some of that loss and all of the guys and women who work in those car washes on what would be a busy, theoretically a busy Sunday. With that, there's a motion to adopt, and it's been moved by Mayor Pro Tem Horvath and myself. I think we're ready to vote, and the motion passes 4-1. Thank you very much. We will now go to item 5E, F. Proposed changes to the appointment policies for the city commissions and advisory board members. Mayor Pro Tem?
Thank you, Mayor. I know this item has been cause for a lot of discussion. I think that's a good thing. And in fact, for me, it's a long time coming. I mentioned in an op-ed I wrote in 2017 my support for this idea, and at the time there were questions. Why didn't she bring it back the very next meeting? And the answer is it's being brought back now because it's the time for us to consider how we want to do appointments moving forward in the future. I understand the process was changed in 2011, but as somebody who was both an at-large board member and an at-large commissioner, I didn't quite understand why there was need for a change. So for people who are saying, you don't need to fix what's not broken, I kind of felt the same way in 2011. I think this is just a matter of a point of view. And I think that, as was mentioned earlier by another commenter, there are good reasons for both approaches. I think the idea to have at-large appointees certainly didn't originate with me. I know there was an op-ed written in 2015 by someone who was hoping to be appointed, recently got appointed directly, so maybe that changes how they feel. But I think the point is this is an ongoing conversation, and I think this item is something that I brought forward out of public request, and so we have a discussion, and no matter how it goes, I think it's good to have the conversation. But as I mentioned, as someone who served at large on both the Women's Advisory Board and the Transportation Commission, I never felt that I was going to run wild, requiring the council members to discuss my behavior in some sort of uncomfortable circumstance in public. And certainly I hope that the reason we're not doing at-larges is because we have some sort of paternalistic idea that we need to control or direct each and every directly appointed commissioner or board member. I never felt like my service struggled because I didn't have someone appointing me directly. In fact, I felt that I had the opportunity to work with all of the council members. It was a requirement of me to meet with each of them, and most importantly, to be focused on the needs of the community in an at-large capacity, not directed by one particular person. And I think we all appoint people with the best of intentions, but I did hear as a transportation commissioner, and I've even heard as recently as at the senior health fair the other day, that people who have been directly appointed have at times felt constrained in their ability to do what they believed was best for the community because they were focused on doing what they thought they needed to do in order to get reappointed. And while there are certainly concerns with that approach as well, and I don't think the only solution or the only issue there is being at large or directly appointed, I think that the idea of appointing commissioners and board members at large gives each of us the opportunity to have another perspective represented and to hopefully encourage people to first of all, be of service to the community, not to any one of us up here on the dais. I think that, again, speaking from my personal experience, I benefited as an at-large appointee, learning from each of the council members I was appointed by, and working as an appointed at-large member in the community. It allowed me a certain freedom that folks who maybe didn't like being appointed by a certain person, they wouldn't talk to those commissioners, or they might, or those advisory board members. There are lots of interpersonal dynamics, and again, no one approach is going to solve any of these issues. There are going to be issues no matter what we choose. But I believe when we work together as a city council on at-large appointments, and it used to be that all of the advisory boards were appointed at large, we were able to introduce members of the community to one another, ensure a variety of views were considered in their appointment, and that the diversity of the council is more important than any one particular point of view. So I know there are members of the public, happy to hear from them, as well as my colleagues, certainly, but I hope that there were many people in the community who expressed an interest in the council as having this discussion, as I mentioned. That's why I brought it forward, and hopefully we can kind of put this item to rest. Thanks.
Thank you. We have 3 speakers and some position slips. Dan Marin, to be followed by Steve Martin, and then Larry Block.
Dan Morin, City of West Hollywood. Now that
Marin.
I'm the pressure of discussing 5 different consent items in 2 minutes is off of me. Better late than never. I want to congratulate Lauren Meister, John D'Amico, and Lindsey Horvath on your re-elections. I also want to congratulate Mr. D'Amico and Ms. Horvath, Mayor and Pro Tem this evening, in your installations. Thank you for your service, all of you on the council. Now to the item at hand. Item 5F. I support this item. To me, it is far fairer to have the council make appointments on an at-large basis as opposed to the current process. However, as I mentioned earlier and wish to underscore, all commissioners and advisory board members should be subject to term limits, with a maximum of 4 two-year appointments which are not to exceed a total of 8 years of service. I've lived in West Hollywood for over 40 years and had seen how entrenched some commissioners and advisory board members have become. It's way past time to put a stop to this. While they are most certainly dedicated members of the community, they are not the Supreme Court ensuring a lifelong appointment. Again, new perspectives are needed, which will also allow other residents the opportunity to serve this community. Please institute term limits for commissioners and advisory board members. I highly encourage you to make this an agenda item for discussion in the foreseeable future. Thank you.
Thank you, Dan. Steve Martin, to be followed by Larry Block.
Steve Martin, West Hollywood, thank you. My concern is kind of a practical one. I mean, there's like over 100 positions, and there's what, 300 or 400 people that apply. So how many months are you going to take for all of you to interview this many people? Or are you just going to let staff vet the process? And then, of course, staff will be very happy to do that. But it just seems that you're going to be homogenizing a lot of what you look at or what you hear from board and commission members. I mean, I think people serve the community whether they're appointed directly or at large. And I know you guys have struggled to find a mix. You know, if you want to have all the boards go back to being at large, I probably wouldn't bother to put in a speaker slip. But I do think that as each one of you is elected, that each one of you should have a voice on the key commissions, because that's the way it functions, and it functions best. I mean, I think I can take a long view of this since I've been a student of this for 35 years. And I would also like to take this in another direction and talk about gender parity. When I was a council member, half of my appointments were men and half were women. And that example didn't always get followed. But for instance, for 6 of the years that I was on council, there was only one woman on the planning commission, and that was my appointment. And we can do a lot better. We have 3 women on planning commission now, which is a historic high, and I think that's great, but we really need to be moving in a direction toward gender parity. And I think we also need to look at the fact that there's an underrepresented group, heterosexual males, which I don't know that are represented at hardly any of our boards and commissions. But anyway, I hope we can have that discussions about diversity. And if this vehicle brings it forward, great. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Steve. Larry Block, to be followed by Esther Baum.
Larry Block, West Hollywood. I want to thank Lindsey Horvath for bringing this item forward. I think the op-ed you referred to might have been mine. And my thinking might have also evolved a little bit with regards to that. But I think there's one vote up there for this item, and it's Lindsey's vote, but she was not afraid to go forward and have this discussion. So she deserves a lot of credit. She didn't count the votes before it started. And the question of how we improve this public service on the commissions really should be term limits. We have term limits for all the council members, and some of the residents, if we had some term limits, would have a chance to serve on different boards and commissions and gain the experience to run for city council. City council members shouldn't only be members of clubs or the Democratic clubs. We can get enough experience right from the various commissions to allow more people the chance to serve. So term limits should seep in to our commissions the way the public voted for term limits for council members. As far as the at-large things, I have some concerns because it could be cliquish. Some people get kind of chosen, and some people get left out, and the same people will also get left out. I do think that I have a voice, and I would have never had a voice on the commission if I wasn't an appointee, a direct appointee, and that gave me a chance to serve. I know when somebody like Lauren runs for office, and there's a lot of steam against her, I don't think 3 other council members would have put her commissioners on the commissioners, and that type of diversity is probably more what we're talking about than just gender parity or other things. So I hope this item moves to an agenda item to discuss and have a discussion on term limits for commissioners. Thank you, and board members.
Thank you very much. Esther Baum.
Esther Baum, resident West Hollywood. I think it's a nice idea, but physically impossible. I've noticed how many times a council member can't name a person to a commission or a board because they haven't finished interviewing yet. And it goes on from meeting to meeting. If that was for everyone on every board and commission, for each of you, it wouldn't get done in a year. It's just not possible for everyone to interview all the people for 5 positions on all the boards and commissions in a reasonable time, unless you're going to be able to devote a lot of your time to this item.
Thank you, Esther. Citizen position slips.
Yes, the following people did not wish to speak but wanted to express their opposition to the recommended item: Elise Eisenberg, Cynthia Blatt, Manny Rodriguez, Pat Dixon, Virginia Gillick, Matt Dubin, and Kathy Blavis.
Thank you very much. Anyone wish to speak? I'll start. I think any kind of discussion about who's on our boards and commissions is always timely. I think I am always in awe of each and every person who volunteers their time, and I try to show my respect and my sort of help them to double their belief in our city. And I will say that I have two requirements for an appointment. The first is, people often call me and say, I really want to get involved in the city. And I say, here's my two requirements. You need to identify for me what your interests are, and then you need to attend a meeting of that very commission. And pretty quickly, that whittles it down to, everything approaches zero at that point. They call back. I say, what are your interests? Did you go to the Historic Preservation Commission? No, but you know what? I love old buildings. I'm totally into them. I get it, but did you go to the Historic Preservation Commission? Yeah, no, I just couldn't make it. I said, okay, well, when you make it, call me back, and then we'll talk about it. And it's not to minimize people's interest in serving, because people are genuinely interested in serving, but it is to maximize the fact that people contact me and they say, I'm interested, and when they are genuinely interested, they know what they're interested in, and they go to a meeting or two, and usually, usually within 5 or 6 months, there is an opening on a particular board or a commission, and they usually find themselves serving either as a direct appointee or an at-large appointee. So I do think there's good reason for us to be having this discussion. I also want to say that there are some more years before term limits arrive at this dais, but we have seen in the last 8 years, at least 3 of us are new and have appointed new people by and large, and used our ability to appoint people to engage and change the public-facing face of our boards and commissions. So I don't support this, but I do understand the idea of wanting to get more and more people involved. I just want to say, as Esther mentioned, that sometimes we do have trouble appointing people. Sometimes there is a lack of interest in particular commissions or boards temporarily, and then all of a sudden there's all kinds of people interested in a particular thing, either because of what's happening nationally or what's happening locally. So I'm not going to support this, but I do appreciate that we had this conversation once more.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm not going to support this either, but it does open the door for some other conversations, and I feel that each one of us was elected. We represent we represent everyone, but there might be some segments of the population that are more supportive of us than others. And so by having people on commissions and boards that we appoint, I think that at least our voice is heard. And I think that you actually have more diversity by appointment, and having that balance with, having a few at-large people, at-large appointments as well. I think it's a good balance. I think that, I think it would be naive to say that if I'm on this dais and I'm getting outvoted, on a number of issues, that it wouldn't be the same on a commission vote or a board. So I feel like we have more diversity. Each one of us is represented in some way on commissions and boards by having the ability to appoint one person per board, and then have the others be at large. I do think that the idea of term limits for commissioners and board members is not a bad idea. We have people who've been serving and they're wonderful, and I'm grateful that they have served and had the interest in serving for 25 years. But it is good to get some new blood in there, and to get some new ideas and just new conversations started. So something that I would be interested in looking at in the future is if we want to look at some kind of term limit, even if it means not a term limit overall, but a term limit on a specific commission, and then, someone can be rotated to a new commission if they want to continue serving. The other idea that this brought to mind is requiring at-larges to be more expert in whatever commission that they are in. I don't think it's the same for boards, but on commissions, like historic preservation or planning or human services, that it might make sense to make sure that the at-larges have either some background, some, education, or some personal or professional experience in that area. And I think that the mayor brought that up last year when we were discussing design issues with regard to the Planning Commission. So that's another conversation that we could have, I'm not saying tonight, but in the future. That's pretty much it. I'm not going to support this item. I do think that this item looks for a problem to solve that's not really there. And I think that we have more diversity by having appointments that represent our perspective. Each one of us are very different. We agree on some things, we don't agree on others. And I think that that's the same kind of conversation that is brought into our commissions and boards.
Thank you very much. Councilmember Heilman or Duran, do you wish to speak?
Just quickly, I think new blood is great. I think old blood is good too. There aren't 3 votes for this, so I would suggest that we just move on.
All right. Okay, let's move on to item 5G. The meeting schedule. Did we move that already to the consent calendar? Okay. And then we get to item 5H. And we have a memo that the city clerk's office passed out, and this is the latest one. Is that correct?
Yes, this is the
And
most
there's a
updated.
copy back there?
Yes.
Good. Okay. So
I have a question for the city clerk.
Yes.
Yvonne, on the Business License Commission, did Rob Colonian submit an application?
I just spoke with him tonight, and he said he submitted one, and we checked, and he did. And he
Okay.
said he had spoken with council members and that.
Yes, he did, but he's not on the updated list, so that Rob Colonian should be added as a candidate.
I apologize. He should be added to the Business License Commission
Okay.
as an applicant.
All right, thank you.
Yvonne, also on the Russian Advisory Board, Farhad Yusupov is my direct appointee. You had him at large, I believe.
I will fix that.
Okay, thanks.
Mayor, would you just like us to go commission by commission?
Yes, I think that's what we should do. Does that work for the city clerk? So we can do it alphabetically even.
We can start.
Would you like us to each nominate our direct appointee first, if we were prepared to
Well,
do that?
what I was going to say was that if we're going to keep the people who are there, maybe we just can say that and move on.
Okay, across the board, you mean?
No, well, no, I mean for each commission.
Okay.
I mean, we can say their names and all that, but I think if we just want to say we're going to keep them, and then we can
Okay.
have the discussion about the at-large seats.
All right.
Okay. So shall we start, John, with you in the Arts and Cultural Affairs Commission?
And
Yes,
how do you
John?
want, how do you want us to do? You want
John
to
Duran.
just call one at a time?
Just say,
Okay.
yes.
I'm going to reappoint Dallas Dishman to the Arts and Cultural Affairs Commission.
I feel like it's a game show. Yes, I'm reappointing Catherine Lee.
And I am reappointing Dawn Marina Friedman.
I won't be making any of my appointments tonight.
Okay. And,
I am going to appoint Madeline Rackley as my direct appointment.
okay. Does that mean, Councilmember Horvath, you're not ready to make at-large appointments either?
I'm happy to have a discussion about at-large. I just won't be making any of my directs tonight.
Okay. So then we should
One
accept
of the problems
nominations.
that presents is that we're supposed to use the at-larges to balance out. So I guess if we're prepared to just do the balancing without the benefit of knowing Mayor Pro Tem Horvath's direct, we can do that. But, I mean, I'm prepared to move forward with the at-larges, but I just wanted to raise the issue with my colleagues. Yes, move forward with the at-larges? Okay.
No, I agree. I think this came up last time as well, and I think that we talked about that it would be important to have the directs first and then work on the at-larges.
Okay.
Okay.
Are we good with that? All right, so then we will defer the at-large appointments for all of the commissions and just decide for ourselves, the four of us.
I'm sorry, Mayor, just one more question. I think that Mayor Pro Tem Horvath's not going to be here at the next council meeting, so this means by necessity that we won't be doing at-larges until the end of June or possibly the end of July. If she's not prepared to go in June and we only meet once in July, that means...
Well, people would still be serving.
They will be serving.
Yes.
I mean, they'll continue to go.
And I think there are no commissions or boards that have so many vacancies that...
They're non-functional?
Yeah.
All right.
They are not.
Right. And there's nothing prohibiting some from being reappointed and some not for that period of time, right?
There are not.
Yeah. Okay. So the Business License Commission, shall we start? Do you mind starting with you, John Duran?
No.
Over and over again?
I'm going to reappoint Keith Anthony.
Okay.
Yes, reappointing Michael King.
And I'll be reappointing Rob Lowe.
And I'll be making a new appointment, but I'm not ready tonight.
Okay. We'll move on to the Historic Preservation Commission.
Lindsey,
She said she's not appointing any tonight.
Oh, none of them tonight.
I
Okay.
understood that
All
correctly,
correct.
right? Yeah, okay, good. John Duran?
I'm going to reappoint Christopher Winters.
Okay.
Well, Kathy Blavis, who's out there, she's retiring from the commission, so I will be appointing Matt Dubin. Congratulations, Matt.
Congratulations, Matt. Welcome aboard. Wear your Mayor of West Hollywood t-shirt the first day. Take charge. I will be reappointing Lola Davidson.
And I'm going to reappoint Jake LaJoy, sorry.
Terrific. And the Human Services Commission.
I'm reappointing Jimmy Palmieri.
Patrick Shandrick.
And Stephen Davis.
And Andrew Rebeck.
All right. And the Planning Commission.
I'm reappointing Rogerio Cavaliero.
Lynn Hoopengarner.
And I'm reappointing John Oldschool.
And I'm reappointing John Erickson.
Terrific. And then we will go to the Public Facilities Commission.
I'm reappointing Elaine Polachek.
Susan Isaacs.
And Larry Block has agreed to continue serving, so I will reappoint Larry Block.
And I'm going to appoint Edward Stapleton.
Congratulations, Edward Stapleton. Welcome to the Public Facilities Commission. The Public Safety Commission.
I'm reappointing Desiree Sol.
Tory Berger.
And I'll be reappointing Marcy Norton.
And I'm reappointing Jeffrey Wack.
All right. And the Rent Stabilization Commission.
I'm reappointing Garrett Charity.
Agassi Topchian.
And Richard Maggio.
Kellen Martz.
Kellen, oh, he's already appointed, got it. Sorry, little reading problem there. The Transportation Commission.
I'm reappointing Misty Cooper.
Sorry, Chris Bowen.
And David Warren.
David Eichman.
All right, congratulations to all of them. The Disability Advisory Board.
I'm reappointing Rick Watts.
David Nash.
And I'm reappointing Louise Smith.
Annie Simonko.
Congratulations to all of them. The LGAB.
I'm reappointing Lauren Costine and Jason Frazier.
Yeah, Lucas John and, where am I? Alana Roche, yes.
And I'm reappointing Zakiah Wright and Robert Gamboa.
And I'm reappointing Duke Mason, and I'm appointing Sarah Whitaker.
Congratulations, Sarah Whitaker. And to everyone at the LGAB. The Russian Advisory Board.
I'm reappointing Larissa Danilova.
Raisa Algrove.
And I'm reappointing Valentina Matii.
Farhad Yusupov.
All right, congratulations to all of you. The Senior Advisory Board.
I am reappointing Michael Hollingsworth.
Joy Newell,
and Pat Dixon.
And Esther Baum.
Congratulations to all of you. On the Transgender Advisory Board,
I'm reappointing James Wen.
Lindsey Deaton,
and Alexis Sanchez.
Madison Fairchild.
All right. Congratulations to all of you. The Women's Advisory Board, our last advisory board,
I'm reappointing Tina Moore.
Amanda Blight,
and Jenner Deal.
I'm not ready.
Not ready. All right. So we got through about a skinny 60%, so I think that's pretty good. And that brings us to our final public comment of the evening. I believe that's right. There were no excluded consent calendar items. Is there any public comment?
There are no more public comment.
There's no more public comment. Thank you to everyone who is not speaking. And there are no legislative items, no more council member comments?
As Councilmember Duran alluded to, I will not be at the next council meeting. I will be representing the city at the Open Source Data Forum in Paris, and will bring back a very robust report, should you all be interested in it.
And this completes our meeting this evening on May 20th, 2019. Our next regularly scheduled meeting will meet here in these chambers on Monday, June 3rd at 6:30 p.m. Thank you very much, City Clerk, City Manager, City Attorney. We are adjourned.
Yvonne?